afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Pam Hinterlong, and I'm with the Virginia Commonwealth University's Rehabilitation Research and Training Center.
My name is Stephanie Lau, and I'm also an employee at VCU Rehabilitation Research and Training Center.
Today we're going to talk to you about our customized employment research study. At the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center, we have an exciting project that is looking at ways to improve the employment outcomes of individuals with physical disabilities. One of our research questions looks at if customized employment is an effective intervention to assist transition-age youth with physical disabilities in becoming employed. In the customized employment study, we're looking to identify the key components of customized employment. We want to know several things. Can the components of customized employment be measured objectively and consistently? What are the employment outcomes of youth who receive customized employment services? What role does assistive technology play in job negotiation and customization? We're also interested in comparing the demographics of participants who become employed in customized jobs and those who do not become employed. During year one of our project, we conducted a series of focus groups to identify customized employment indicators. Stephanie and I will be sharing these with you later in our webcast. Our project is a collaboration with Children's Hospital at VCU. Over the course of 4 years, we are going to work with 80 youth with a goal of assisting 40 individuals to obtain and maintain customized jobs of their choice. To be eligible for our project in the research study, the individuals must first have a physical disability. We also are only working with individuals that are at least 18 years old and are in the final 2 years of high school. Each youth needs to be able to express a desire to work and work in the community a minimum of 20 hours per week. It's also important to our research study that these individuals have parental support and that they agree to ongoing data collection throughout the project. Each youth that participates in our research study will receive customized employment services. These services will include a period of discovery. Our goal there is to determine employment goals as well as ideal conditions for employment. Each participant will have personal representation by an employment specialist. This representation will help them in negotiating with employers. We're going to be looking at things like work tasks, hours, pay, how much they'll be paid, the supports that they'll need to meet not only the individual job seeker's needs, but the needs of the employer. The goal of customized employment is to create new jobs and to develop personalized jobs descriptions. In customized employment, individualized accommodations and supports are available to the job seeker and the employer throughout the process. Now we're going to take a few minutes and talk to you about some of the individuals we've been working on in our research study. We have case studies to share that will illustrate these indicators in practice.
As Pam had mentioned, one of the indicators of customized employment is that every individual has the opportunity to participate in discovery. Here we have one individual who is a participant of our study, and we utilized a lot of different assessments to learn more about him and to really develop themes about what it was that he enjoyed and what it was that he was looking for work. And based on home visits, community assessments, conversations, and observations of this individual, we learned that he really enjoys being around people. For example, we did one assessment with him that was actually in a laboratory setting that he had indicated an interest in. However, afterwards, he realized he didn't like it, and it was mostly because it was such a sterile clinical environment with very few social interaction opportunities. So we learned that he definitely liked people. He also indicated, based on some community-based internships that he had done while in school, that he really enjoyed cleaning. And we also learned from him and his family that music was a huge pastime and a hobby. So the very first picture of this individual is actually him using a squeegee to clean a window at a situational assessment. And what we learned there is that he has a really wonderful attention to detail. It was something that he enjoyed doing. You could tell he took a lot of pride in the work. And again, he had great work attention and also great work ethic. The second picture, we're going to go into a little bit more detail, was kind of an interesting way to test his ability in DJing, which he had also listed as a vocational goal. So it's very important when you do an assessment that you find the right environment. And by that, we want it to be a real environment, a real workplace. And so we wanted to show you this video of him actually at his assessment. And as you can tell, it is a operating gym with a lot of people moving around. And also the weights, when they drop, make a significant amount of noise and vibration. And the very first time that happened, it actually frightened him. And after we explained what it was and why it was going to happen and when he could tell when it was going to happen, it was no longer an issue. And so that was something that we learned that was really important based on the environment, is that noise, vibration, commotion, those weren't sensory issues. Here we have another video of him actually doing his assigned assessment task, which was he is DJing a workout set. And what was important was that we told him he was going to be DJing the workout set, and we wanted him to identify music that would be appropriate for working out. So it was really up to him to identify that you needed fast pace, dance songs, things that were just workout songs, not, nothing slow. No kind of like really long ballads. And actually, this is an application on his iPad that was a DJ application where he can actually go into his albums, which he's doing here right now, and selecting the next song, which was important because we wanted to recognize that if he had listed DJing as one of his vocational goals, would he recognize the importance of avoiding dead air? Because, of course, the last thing you want to do is just have silence between songs when you have, when you're in a situation where you want the energy to be up and you want people to kind of be in a bombastic environment. So this was really great for him to actually choose songs independently that he thought were good songs, and then also to avoid dead air. It also allowed me to have the opportunity to see what his learning process was, as well as his memory, because in fact we did learn that there were times he forgot what songs he had played, and so he was about to play it again, which if you're doing a DJ set, you kind of want to have new songs every single time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And again, this one other thing I want to point out too is that he had listed DJing as kind of a vocational goal, and the reality is that DJing would not be a viable goal, in that actually he has a seizure disorder in which flashing lights could actually trigger a seizure, which of course means that putting him into like a real DJing environment might not be the smartest idea, but we still wanted to do this assessment because we wanted to see exactly what his skills and abilities were in an area that he had stated was an interest, which was music. This is another participant from our study, and I want to really stress here the importance of discovery and also acknowledging your own assumptions. I have to admit that the very first time I met this individual, I conducted a home visit with him, and it was in the early evening, around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And when I left, I had a certain impression about this individual and his skills and abilities. And when I started to do other observations with him, I kind of was working off of that initial impression. Luckily, I decided to do a community assessment with him in an area that he had identified as a chosen location. And it turned out that when I saw him in the morning, he was a completely different individual from who I had seen the first time at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And that was because he actually gets up extremely early in the morning. And, seeing him at 9 o'clock was a world of difference. When I saw him at 5 o'clock, he was exhausted. He had had a very long day. He was ready for bed. When I saw him at 9 o'clock, I saw a lot more personality. I saw a lot more engagement. And I realized that I had fallen into the trap of my own assumptions, that I had limited his ability because I wasn't recognizing that I may not have seen him at his best time. And that's extremely important when we are trying to develop themes about their skills, interests, and abilities, that we do observe them at their best time. And then we also learn when is the best time that we should be looking for jobs for them. So for example, if you're a morning person, then you want to find a job where you work in the morning. If you're a night person, then evening hours might be better for you.
Yeah, I think this really illustrates well that we can't meet someone even just one or two times and make decisions and assumptions about what their skills are and who they are as a person. And this individual certainly reminded us of that in a big way. When he's comfortable and he's awake and he has energy, there's so much potential there for him. And when he's tired and physically exhausted, he's much more limited.
Yeah, and just like any of us, we're
Exactly.
not at our best when we're tired. And when I saw him at his best, I realized that he has a huge personality and is a very engaging individual.
Yeah.
So. This is another individual from our study that we want to kind of really map out the path of how discovery leads to employment. Similar to the two other individuals that we've just given you examples of, we did a lot of assessments with him, both in the community, situational assessments, observations, home visits, conversations, just getting to know a lot about him. And what we learned was he loves people, he loves helping people, he loves working with young kids. He loves movies and films, knows a lot about movies. Actually, one of the first times I met him, we talked about James Bond because he's really excited about the new James Bond movie. And he knew the very first James Bond movie, when it came out, actually knew a lot of trivia about movies in general. And these are all themes that we developed from the idea of hanging out with intent. Just getting to know them as an individual and learning what it is that they really, really enjoy. And so in his own words, we would like to show you what he thought about finding employment based on the assessment process.
How did your job coaches help you decide what job you wanted?
They asked me what I love to do. I told them I love kids and movies, and I did not want to at school, and he looked at we gone to Gold Gym.
So you tried out a job at Gold's Gym?
Yeah.
What did you do there?
Scan the cards and greet people.
And you liked that?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened after you tried out a couple of jobs? Then what?
He channel. I told him I love movie stuff, and I tell him I was helping kids with kids, and he find me a perfect job with movies and helping other people out to let them know of time they're cleaning up. And that's what he helped out.
Okay.
I love the fact that he says that we were able to help him find the perfect job because we knew so much about him. So of course the goal in all of these assessments is leading to employment. And once you have an idea of what an individual likes to do, what they can do, and what are good fits for them, you can really start to customize a personal employment profile, which helps you also identify what are the businesses in the community that you need to start to visit, meet with, and try to create these employment opportunities for them.
Yeah, I think the personal employment profile also gives us a map of how we're going to network in the community, which I think is what you were saying.
Yes. And here we have another participant from our study, and he is actually writing his resume and cover letter based on what we've discovered from the assessment process. And so once you have a personal profile and you have an idea of what it is that you're looking for employment opportunities, you can really target the businesses that you go to. And one of the great ways to learn about different business opportunities and more about businesses in the community is to actually conduct what are called informational interviews. And that's really going to the business and not necessarily saying, hey, I want a job, give me a job, or what are the jobs you have open, but learning about a business, finding out more information about what their operations are like, and finding out, is there room for your client there based on what those businesses need and what the individual you're working with can do. This is actually a picture of an office building that I went to for an informational interview, and I took it because I really enjoyed the fact that one of the employees was this gentleman here. His name is Tupelo, and he comes to work every day with his owner.
Tells you a lot about a business
It does.
and their work environment when they have animals as employees. So it was interesting.
And so this is another picture of that exact same business. And one of the areas that we looked at for this information interview and observation was in the customer service department. And so I actually observed the customer service department for about half a day and talked to a lot of the different young ladies that you see here and learned a little bit more about what it is that they do, what is their workflow like, and what are some of the constraints that they have when it comes to efficiency and productivity. So for example, the day that I was there, Jackie was first on phones. I unfortunately observed her have to encounter a delivery problem. They are an online retailer, so they are constantly answering the phones. And most of the time, their phone calls are pretty quick. You know, where's my order? When can I expect it to be delivered? I want to confirm that it has been ordered. But occasionally they get issues such as missing packages, undeliverable mail, or I ordered and my credit card has been charged, but I haven't gotten my package. I don't have any tracking information. And in those situations, what I observed was that they had to take a lot of time out of their day to go and fix it and to figure out what was happening to each individual order. So that was information that I kind of noticed and used for an employment proposal, which I will describe in more detail in the next slide. And so the other area that I observed while I was at this business was also their IT or web development area. And they, again, as an online retailer, are trying to increase their presence in social media. And part of that is they have a pretty rigorous schedule when it comes to newsletters, things that they're sending out to their mailing list. And there's a lot of quality assurance that needs to happen. For every newsletter that goes out, it needs to be edited, it needs to be proofread. Any links, videos, they need to be checked to make sure that they are working. And again, as an online retailer, they do a lot of things on the internet, which means whenever there's a change in their programming, they have to check it across multiple browsers. So this was another area that I looked at, observed some of the constraints when it came to productivity and efficiency to create an employment proposal. So here is a kind of screen cap of a piece of the employment proposal. And I really outlined exactly what my goal was for the business, which was to increase their productivity and efficiency in customer service and the IT department. And I had to lay out an argument as to how this would be a benefit for the employer if they were to hire an individual to relieve them of some of the tasks that I observed. And specifically, we talked about testing the website across multiple browsers, maintaining a list of competitor inventory and pricing, doing quality assurance for web links and on the newsletters, interacting with customers on social media platforms. So things like if Instagram tags the business, then the business should like it so that the customer feels like they are interacting with them across social media platforms. Identify missing invoices or double tracking orders to help the ladies in customer service. Assist customer service by working with buyers because they sometimes have bigger purchase order requests, and that takes time for the customer service department. Assist customer service with completing return requests, mailing out labels. Assist with missing item investigations. That takes a lot of time when they have to find out what happened to a package, why is it missing, and if it is missing because of the U.S. Postal Service, then actually filing what's called a PIP claim for any missing package.
So these were all tasks that you proposed for the individual in the project to create a new job, a new job description with this employer to meet the employer's needs and the needs of our customer.
Yep. And
okay,
based on, and thank you, Pam, for pointing that out. Based on previous assessment and discovery, we recognized that these were appropriate tasks for this individual. In fact, actually, when I first met with the employer, they had an opening in the customer service department. But I had conducted previous assessments that identified that phones were not an area that was a strength or an interest for my client. So putting him in a position where he was answering phone calls would have been setting him up for failure. So instead, my intent was going in to do observations to identify kind of more behind the house and behind the scenes work that he could perform.
Yeah, it looks like a really good match for him.
So here we have another video that we want to show you, which is an example of a customized position. In the video, you will notice that the individual does have a speech impediment. And part of his job requirement is actually to inform new customers of changes to the theater. It used to be another theater, and it was overhauled by Carmike to actually become one of the theaters that you can go and order food while you're in the theater. So he needed
dinner
to
and a
tell
movie.
them. Exactly, literally dinner and movie. So he has to tell new patrons about their ability to order food, and so we had to come up with some AT devices for him so that he was able to do that fluently.
Welcome to Ovation Day. Have you been here before?
No.
Well, I have a surprise for you.
So I can order in the theater?
Yes.
What theater am I going to?
Theater 6.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
So as you can see from that video, he actually used his iPod to have a manager record the message for Kyle so that Kyle did not actually have to say it whenever he had patrons, which would have taken a lot longer and really would not have fulfilled the needs of the business.
Yeah, I also think it can get loud in the workplace, and this allows for him to turn the volume up. And in this example, there was just one patron, but sometimes there'll be, 4 or 5 people all listening together because they're at the movies together. So
we also utilize the assistance of a rehab engineer to create a ticket cutter box for him. As a ticket taker, he has to take the tickets and tear them in half. Because of limited manual dexterity, this is really difficult for him to do without any kind of assistive technology. So the rehab engineer actually did an observation of Kyle, used a pre-existing ticket taker to get an idea of what Kyle could do and what his needs would be, and then actually went back to his office and kind of recreated a ticket taker that was more suitable for Kyle. Some of the things is the profile was lower so that Kyle didn't have to reach up as high. We also changed the sensor on the box because the pre-existing cutter had actually been meant for tickets that were on the card stock, and now the tickets are printed on a different texture paper.
Almost like a receipt.
Exactly. And the sensor in the first one was not enough to really cut it appropriately. So we increased the sensitivity of the sensor, raised it so you didn't have to get the ticket in there quite as deep. And also he used a different battery to make sure that it would have a sufficient charge throughout the duration of Kyle's shift. So here we have an image of Kyle actually using the ticket taker. So you can see how he's able to put the ticket into the ticket taker, and the sensor will realize that a ticket's in there, rotate a blade and cut it, and what is meant to be kept by the theater will go into the box, and Kyle can give the receipt back to the patron. We also wanted to make sure, and this is part of the safety assessment, was that the slot was small enough that Kyle did not have to worry about getting his fingers in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we have another picture of him using it as workstation with one of his managers, so you can see exactly what his setup is like at his booth. Another thing that we did is we actually customized his position by adding some tasks to the ticket taker position. Originally, ticket takers are also responsible for cleaning theaters after they let out. But of course, because of Kyle's physical limitations, that would be very difficult for him to do. So instead, we took away that task and we added another one where he uses a Swiffer duster to dust the movie posters in between taking tickets. And this is actually something that wasn't really being done by anybody. So we were able to add value to the business by adding this task.
Yeah. When Kyle was first hired, one of the challenges was helping him identify downtime. And he does his dusting in between the busy times that movies are starting and customers are arriving. And that's a skill he's gained, is really being able to gauge the time and independent choice of when to do his additional tasks.
And that's a great point. He has started to learn there's usually a pattern. Like, 5 o'clock, there's usually a rush. 6:30, 7 o'clock, there's usually a rush. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, there's again another rush of people. So he knows this pattern, but he still has actually started to learn how to look at the schedule and confirm, okay, I don't have any movies that are starting, so this is a good time to go and dust.
Exactly.
So we wanted to share with you another video. This is actually his manager who is sharing some information she has about what accommodations were required to make sure that Kyle was successful at his job.
What accommodations were made so that the theater could hire Kyle?
Honestly, there were a lot more than we realized, but they're just little things. Like everyone clocks in and out on 2 different systems because we are a theater and a restaurant. So in order for Kyle to do that, he put what he needed in his iPod, and then the other servers or box people help clock him in and out. We've also had, because he has a slight speech impediment, we had a recording done, so if he has to use the recording to help him in his job code, he can use that. The other ones, some of his scheduling needs, we have accommodated in that way, but it has worked out very beneficial for us because that was our need at the time.
I think another one that you've done is his break time. You split that up?
Yes, because sometimes he has to have the nurse help him, and then sometimes, that way he can get something to eat and drink just like everybody else. So we definitely like working with him. He's awesome to work with.
So what I really appreciated about his manager was her honesty in that there were more accommodations required than she initially expected. However, the fact that Kyle was so enthusiastic about his job was what made her want to continue to work with his job coaches and employment specialists to make sure that the right accommodations were identified. We have another video of her actually sharing advice to different businesses who may be interested in hiring an individual with a physical disability, which I just love it when businesses tell other businesses what they think are the most important things.
What advice would you give to other employers who are interested in hiring people with disabilities?
I would say that look at the possibilities instead of just looking at their disability. Think outside of the box, because there's ways to work around almost anything if that's what they really want to do. If they have a passion for it, why not get a staff that has a passion? It's more fun to work with, and he's been such an inspiration to everyone here. So it really is just great to have them on the staff.
One more video that we just thought was a great way to just kind of end this, asking one of our participants who has started to work what his favorite thing about work is.
What do you like most about your job?
Meeting new people and get visitors and meet new coworkers and get free tickets and free soda and free popcorn.
My favorite thing about Kyle's comments about his favorite things at work are the fact that it actually highlights the importance of employment for people with disabilities. When they have employment, they have opportunities for social interaction, the opportunity to make friends at work, and have something beyond just sitting at home. Really, one of my favorite things about going to work now and seeing Kyle at his job is when he tells me about dates that he has made with his coworkers to use their free movie tickets to go and see movies together.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you've enjoyed our presentation today. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to find out more about the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Employment of Individuals with Physical Disabilities or the customized employment part of the study, please visit us online. Our website is VCU-RRTC.org, and we hope you'll come and see us there. Thanks.
Thank you.